Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. For this video I thought I would switch things up and change the usual pink background at the back. I know I've cut my hair and I think we're meeting after a long time. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. To all the new people who have joined, welcome, and I hope you find the content which you are looking for, I guess. Anyways, so the first book I read was, well, rather listened to, was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Now, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and listening to Stephen Fry narrating this was an absolute joy, as were the first two books. I really feel the third book in the series is sort of one of my favorites because you don't need any background to watch or read this book. I mean, you don't need to have a previous background of who Harry is or what happened actually to understand this book, and I just like listening to it a lot. The second book I read was They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Now, at first I had in mind that this book was meant for a teenage audience, and I had expected the writing to be very childish and not, having deeper meaning to it as such. I think the book is not for everyone. I think the older audience would have a hard time reading this book because it has a lot of young lingo, I guess. It never lost its pace and kept the reader on the edge of their seat by, switching between points of view, which was very clever. And I love how the book ends without telling us what actually happened, but it's all there in the title. It was heartbreaking to read that book. I cried. I'm not even gonna lie about this. I did cry a little. Then I read Nothing Lasts Forever by Sidney Sheldon. Now, again, Sidney Sheldon, I do not have to go to the depth and length of how Sidney Sheldon is great. He just writes brilliantly, and I just love his work. The next book I read was Cain and Abel by Jeffrey Archer. Now, I have read this book 5 times now. I mean, I've started this book and left it midway, and then I picked it up again 5 times, just because the sheer volume of it, like it's huge, right? And it's difficult to carry it in my bag every day to office and to read on my journey there. So it kind of just got left behind, and I'm so glad I did read it though, because prior to this I had just read one Jeffrey Archer, Paths of Glory, and I had loved that. And since then I have read all of his short stories, but I never got around to reading his novels again. So I'm so glad I read this book, and it is epic. Now, after all the murder mystery novels I've read, the ending was a little predictable, but the way it's written and the way the story keeps you engaged in the characters and the story is just only a mastermind like Jeffrey Archer could do it, in my opinion. And it doesn't leave you, that story, even after you've read it for a few days, and it's just amazing, and everyone should start their Jeffrey Archer experience with this book. Then I read The Big Switch by John Adams. I'm not sure if this book was meant to be for an Indian audience, because it sure felt like it. Chetan Bhagat writes such kind of books, and I'm not a fan of his, I was a fan of The Big Switch. Even though it kind of wants to paint us a picture of hope and the fact that you are supposed to follow your dreams and chase after what you really believe in, it did not execute it in a good way. I mean, the writing is pathetic. There are grammar mistakes in the book for some reason. I read the ebook and there were grammatical errors in it, and it just put me off, where the language just wasn't good, and the story was kind of mediocre and just trying to achieve something but just couldn't hit it. Then I read Origin by Dan Brown. Now, as you all might know, I am a Dan Brown fan and have loved his work since I've read Angels and Demons. I like the premise of Origin. It's not that I don't like it, but the way reading so much of Dan Brown has made me anticipate the climax and kind of expect what is going to happen and not trust the person the author is trying to frame through the book. You know what I mean? So all in all, the book was okay. The plot was predictable. It got a little slow in the middle, and I would have loved to just skip from the part where the murder happens, and then just at the end trying to find who the killer is. So and it's a huge book too. I mean, it's so big. I kind of feel like I wasted my time reading this. It wasn't that thrilling. Then I read Mrs. Funny Bones by Twinkle Khanna. Now this is an Indian author. She writes a column in the Times every Sunday, I believe, and those are great. Those are amazing, and those are very funny too. But this felt like a never-ending newspaper column. You know what I mean? Like, her style is, she complains about her husband and her mother-in-law, about how they nag her in some way. But to me, it is okay to read about it once every Sunday, but it's not okay to read about it on and on as part of a book, if you know what I mean. And I initially intended this to be read by my mom because she likes Twinkle Khanna and she reads the columns, but she never got around to reading it, I guess. So I read it instead, and I didn't like it. It wasn't even funny. I mean, I just don't know what she did with this. I mean, what was the audience there? I think it was just married women, in my opinion. So I don't know. I just didn't enjoy it. Then I read Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka. Now, I've never read any of Franz Kafka's work. I had started reading The Trial in the middle, but it just got sidelined. So this was my actual first Franz Kafka book that I read, and it was amazing. Now, it deserves another video of it altogether, but I'm just going to briefly talk about it. I read/listened to it. The audiobook version is from Benedict Cumberbatch, so that was an added bonus. Who doesn't want Benedict reading to you? I mean, yes, please. This came as a surprise because a few of my friends had recommended Franz Kafka to me, and they had told me that he is very profound and he has a way of writing which just connects with you. So when I read this, I really did feel the metaphor speaking out to me of Gregor Samsa, him being changed in a way, so just a little, which the family then construes to him being not part of who they are, and just being changed in some other way makes society to look at you in a completely different way, which makes the person feel little or not a part of what the community is. And I think Kafka does that very beautifully in Metamorphosis, and I kind of read this in a hurry, so I'm planning on reading it again when I have relaxed and I have a few days on my hand, and reading it slowly to really understand what it means. I feel this is kind of a book which you read it, no matter how many times you read it again and again, you discover something new every time, like Hamlet, for example. Not only Hamlet, but every time you read Shakespeare, you just discover something new which you missed the last time. So I'm going to read that again. Then the last book which I read was Tell Me Your Dreams by Sidney Sheldon. Again, Sidney Sheldon writes epic books, and murder mystery any day, hell yes. So that's it for me. That's the books I read in March, April, and I included May because we're in June now and it seemed only fair. I did read a little less books from the last time we met, but I'm trying to read few bulkier books, so it's taking a long time to finish. So that's the reason why. And I guess I'll see you guys next time, whenever that is. Yeah, take care.